Twin films. Twin films.
Welcome to Twin Films. I'm Ernesto Sandoval.
And I'm Drew Barnett Hamilton.
And today we're going to be talking about Deep Impact versus Armageddon. First of all, Drew, Unfrosted came out. And, Unfrosted's going to have a special place in my heart because that's where we met. Well, actually, we met before that.
We met on the Obi-Wan reshoots.
Obi-Wan.
But I only roped you into Unfrosted because of that meeting. Thank you, Michael.
Even though I clearly remember, I have this job, but it's probably only going to be for a month. And I was like, fuck it, I'll take it.
Remember how I was like, this won't be a crazy one?
Yeah, and then I ended up being there the whole time. I mean, great people. It was a great environment to work in. Did you watch the movie yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah. So a little backstory here, y'all. Ernesto and I worked on Unfrosted, the Jerry Seinfeld Pop-Tart movie that finally released on Netflix. And I was the production coordinator. Ernesto was with us in the production office. We had a great production office. Yeah. A lot of good people. We finished filming that movie last summer. Summer of
2022.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that was
You're right.
Year, yeah.
We finished.
Feels like last year.
It feels like last year. Last year was in the series of the 2020s, A Time Warp.
I will say this. It's a weird, unique movie. Whether that's good or bad is up to you. But,
there's so many great cameos.
A lot of great cameos, but
many
it's
great
just
cameos.
Such a weird, bonkers. Anyway, you decide for yourself, but we worked on it. Deep Impact and Armageddon really, definitely brought me back. I'd seen both movies before. Deep Impact I only saw once. I saw both in theaters. Deep Impact, the only thing I remembered before I rewatched it was the scene where they're being loaded into the caves.
Oh, that's what you remember?
That's what I remember from the movie. And then I was like, oh yeah. And then I remember the comet landing on Paris, but it turned out that was an Armageddon.
That was an Armageddon? So that Arc de Triomphe scene, yeah.
Deep Impact, I would argue, is a drama, not even an action movie.
I'll give you that. I'll really give you that. It's funny. I had watched them both quite a bit in the day. Mm-hmm. Those were the kind of movies that would be on TV on a Sunday, and I would rewatch them. So I probably watched both of them, I don't know, 5 to 10 times each. I really loved Bruce Willis too.
Oh my God.
I was such a fan.
Bruce Willis is so good in that movie. Even though he's given the most ridiculous lines. I mean, my God.
Oh my God, but they're so memorable. That was something for me rewatching, which was very interesting. I very much remembered a lot from Deep Impact. I really enjoyed rewatching Armageddon because those one-liners all still are pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
That is the Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer of it all.
Yeah.
And I want to get into this more in round 3, but I was very struck by something that I never would have even crossed my mind when I was watching them as a young person. When these movies came out, I was a teenager. Deep Impact written by men, but directed by a woman, Mimi Leder.
Oh, yeah.
And Armageddon, produced and directed by Jerry Bruckheimer and Michael Bay, respectively. For me, these movies had this weird dichotomy I don't feel like we've ever had in twin films where it was the masculine and the feminine.
Man versus woman.
A little bit, and not to be...
And the men won. Again, that's a surprise there. Big surprise.
But, I thought the approaches on them, they are basically the same movie, more similar than a lot of the movies we've seen. It feels more like Ants and Bugs Life, but the way that they confront the same issue, the perspective they're coming in from on these felt so wildly different, especially with a little distance and a rewatch. Back in the day, in this era, these movies were stop everything. The entire world runs to the cinema to go see the new Bruce Willis movie. And when we talk about these budgets, you'll see, and the gross, the worldwide gross, the domestic ticket sales, man.
This was one where I think both films definitely were successful, box office wise.
Yeah, because we just talked about Ed TV and Truman Show
it was
last
just such a
difference.
Yeah, because also Ants and a Bug's Life clearly made more money. Dante's Big Volcano, Dante's Peak clearly made more money.
And usually we're seeing the one that comes out first does better. Mm-hmm. Armageddon came out second and did better.
Actually, I think maybe The Illusionist and Prestige I think also were successful. Yeah, I think they're both successful. But
yeah, that's right. You're right, because The Illusionist was very successful on the indie circuit.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of a boon for them because they weren't in the studio system. Like that was a festival movie that got big.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And it wasn't as big as The Illusions, but it definitely was successful.
It made its money back.
Whereas like Ed TV was a certified flop,
right?
Compared to Truman Show.
But definitely Deep Impact and Armageddon were like summer blockbusters.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I feel like overall, people might have liked one or the other for whatever reason, but I feel like both movies were pretty highly regarded and in the moment, which isn't always the case for twin films. Usually there is like a fan favorite pretty clear.
Yeah.
At least for the big ones of like our generation. Yeah. But for this one, I feel like it's very middle of the road. Like people are split on more on
Yeah, I mean, look, they're both fucking preposterous. I mean, they're both fucking ridiculous. And you just got to let that go. You got to let it go.
You just got to roll with it.
You got to let it go. You can't think about it too much because it's just going to infuriate. See this quote from Michael Bay, which was hilarious. I think he even said at one point, you know, if this were actually to happen, there's not a goddamn thing anyone can do. Like, there's nothing anyone can do. Like, we're dead. Like, there's nothing we can do to ensure our survival. So I respect Michael Bay a little bit there because he's like, I know there's no fire in space. I'm aware of this, guys. Okay? This is just entertainment. And I think that's probably why, my opinion, I think he leaned into the entertainment aspect, a lot more action.
Definitely.
And he's just like, I'm just going to give you a good time. I'm not going to fucking bog you down. Whereas Deep Impact is like, you know, this could fucking happen, right?
Yeah, Deep Impact is much more like science-based, like emotional-based, like how you would feel if the world was going to end, as opposed to Armageddon, which is much more like, let's go fucking take that shit down.
Right. Round one, Deep Impact.
This movie was released May 8th, 1998. It is about 2 hours, rated PG-13, budget of $75 million. In the US and Canada, it grossed $140 million and worldwide $350 million.
Fuck.
Pretty
good. Especially for that time, yeah.
Amazing worldwide gross there. That's a huge number. Director Mimi Leader. Love to see a female director on an action movie. Written by Bruce Joel Rubin and Michael Tolkien. The writers also produced, as well as David Brown, Richard Zanuck as a producer. And if y'all don't know who Richard Zanuck is, please IMDb him. I cannot spend the time to explain to you his crazy IMDb page. Zanuck is a Hollywood name. You know that name if you work in Hollywood. And this dude is one of the reasons why. And Spielberg also executive produced this film with DreamWorks. So the tagline that IMDb lists for Deep Impact is heaven and earth are about to collide, which is terrible.
No, there's a better one.
I have this wonderful VHS.
Can I say it?
Yeah, please.
Oceans rise, cities fall, hope survives. Deep Impact. Hell yeah. That's really dramatic.
That's so much better.
Yeah. Oceans rise. Oceans rise.
It's very ominous, and the cover is like super ominous because like it's like Elijah Wood and Leelee Sobieski like hugging while there's like a meteor hitting New York. Thank God for VHSs. I just love them so much. Yeah, weird tagline to have on IMDb. Yeah. And it feels very like
not bad, but
it just feels like God, like Christian-y, because the heaven and earth, which that movie has not like
Deep Impact, prepare to meet God.
Jesus can't save you.
The Messiah's coming. Jesus.
But it is the Messiah. That is the shit. Oh. Deep Impact is very interesting. And I think this really feeds into what you're saying a second ago about like it being a drama, not an action movie, like right from the get-go. You're not going, usually in a action movie, your cold open would be a crazy action sequence.
Yeah, like
Armageddon, your hero, like saving some shit, showing how they're really good at their job, like establishing that they're a badass, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Usually in an action movie, the cold open is an action set piece. Like look at any James Bond movie, look at any Mission Impossible movie. Like you're starting up front with like cool shit. Deep Impact was like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah. They start with a children's high school class, a stargazing class, right? Yeah. And they're like looking up at the stars and mapping the stars. Elijah Wood's character, Biederman, finds this new star, and him and his girlfriend are like arguing about it. It has like a slow burn, and then it really escalates quickly when you start going to the like observatory guy.
Wolf. And he's
Oh.
Dr. Wolf.
Oh my God, Dr. Wolf.
So
'Cause,
he's
yeah,
eating this soggy ass pizza, which bothers me so much.
I didn't even clock that.
Yeah, so he's eating a soggy pizza.
Is it floppy?
It's just floppy.
Ew.
And he's just on his computer like, and he's just like typing shit. And he's just like, and then all of a sudden he's like, looking at the high school like astronomy team, like, oh, let's look at this photo. And then he like puts it in the computer. And then they do that cool dolly shot where he's just like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? And he starts typing shit, can't get on the server. And then he's just like, okay, I got to mail this out. So he gets...
This is crazy.
Yeah,
so it is a little of an action.
Yeah, so he puts it in an envelope, puts it on a floppy disk, which, wow, what a throwback.
I literally wrote a note about the floppy disk, but it's not a floppy disk. I couldn't remember the name of it. It's a hard disk. Because remember, the floppy disks were the really big ones that were floppy.
Oh, that's true.
It's the little, like, smaller one.
You're
but
right.
Either way, trippy.
Yeah, so, and then he puts it in that envelope. He's driving
down this mountainside. And some truck driver's driving up this mountainside that probably that truck should never be going up anyway.
No. And then he's smoking a cigarette. And then he drops it on his pants. And he's just like, oh, God.
Yeah, he like ashes himself and then drives into like Wolf's car and drives off the fucking mountain.
I'm sorry. You know, Dr. Wolf, the car flips over and then it explodes.
Yeah.
Explosions crack me up. I mean, that was hilarious.
Absurd.
But then I kind of felt bad because I read that was based on like something that actually happened.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, it happened
Holy
to this
shit.
astrologer had like some news and he was driving somewhere and so they based it on like that event. So I was like, oh shit. But still the way
it reads so absurd.
Yeah, it was absurd.
So
But here's the thing, like the car blows up, right?
Yeah.
So later when you find out that they got the information from that drive or it's like it would have been destroyed, right? That didn't make sense.
Yeah,
to
that
me.
doesn't make sense. It's like, did they go back to his computer?
Yeah.
But how would they have known? Yeah, because
the car is obliterated.
That's a hole.
That's
yeah,
a hole,
for
yeah.
sure. I mean,
Besides, fucking asteroid coming to Earth. But anyway, maybe I shouldn't overthink this again. Anyway, so okay, what happens after that scene?
Oh, then you have a crazy time jump. It's a year later. Like something that's wild in Deep Impact is the amount of time that passes in this 2-hour movie is years, literal years. Whereas Armageddon is like 3 weeks. Now, a year later, we're jumping in and finally meeting Téa Leoni. She's trying to investigate this story about this defense secretary resigning, and everyone thinks it's because he had an affair.
Right.
Right? That's very on brand for 1998 when the Clinton scandal is hitting. At the same time, in her personal life, Jenny is dealing with some trauma because her dad just got remarried to someone her age, and she still doesn't understand why he's not with her mom. And so she's dealing with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. What I liked about this whole reporter angle too was it felt like this is going to be an investigative movie. She goes to confront the secretary. What's his name?
James Cromwell.
Yeah, James Cromwell.
We'll just say James Cromwell. But Secretary of Defense.
She's also really adamant. She's really hungry to become like an anchor. She's just like putting in all the work to find out. And that's when it evolves into this is just an affair. What the fuck is going on? Then she meets the president of the United States. It just whoa.
President Morgan Freeman comes down and greets her. And that's, I think, the first time we're hearing them say E-L-E.
Yeah.
Instead of Ellie. And she still doesn't know what's happening. Yeah, she knows how much leverage she has in that moment and she doesn't waste it. And you got to respect her for it. It's really a hero moment for her, to stand up to the president when she doesn't even know what's going on. Really cool. I love the 90s internet because when she's looking up ELE, some choice movie internet there.
ELE stands for Extension Level
Extinction Level Event. Yeah, ELE. Yeah.
Once she sees this, she has a drink with her dad who wants to introduce her to his new wife.
Yeah.
And Téa Leoni is just
and they're all mad she wasn't at the wedding.
Yeah. And she's just she's in a different, she's not even listening.
No.
Because she's just freaked out.
Yeah.
Something insane is about to happen.
This big problem for you this morning or yesterday that your dad got remarried that was really irking you now doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Because the world's about to end.
And then when, and they're all confused. I'm kind of with the dad here because he has what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. He's I just want to celebrate. And she doesn't tell him. She's just bounces.
Yeah, but I also like that moment. She's like, life goes on. And
Life
then
goes on.
she's just starts like,
She chugs that martini.
yeah, she's just like, you have no fucking idea. Tia Leone is a great fucking actress. I wish she was in more like shit. I mean, I haven't seen her. I've always loved her.
A big fan of hers. I never recall seeing her do anything half-assed.
No, she's fucking fantastic.
And you're going to the White House for the day they're going to announce to the public what's up. And this is when Jenny's getting her promised like first question.
The whole thing happens where the president announces there's a fucking asteroid coming.
Yep.
Freezes wages. He doesn't want any chaos. Everything remains the same.
Yeah. Life, and that line that Jenny just gave us, life goes on,
life goes on.
Kind of being echoed in this scene from the president here.
Yeah. And then he's just like, this is a situation. We're going to send a team up into space. They're not trying to destroy the asteroid. They're trying to affect its trajectory.
Yeah, on this one, they're much more focused on just moving it away from Earth, not completely destroying it. And on this one, they say that this comet is like the size of Mount Everest.
Oh, yeah.
It's like larger than New York City.
Yeah, that shit.
Like they love to give you this like perspective, whereas in Armageddon, it's bigger than Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. For the last 8 months, the U.S. and Russia have been building a secret spaceship in orbit around the Earth called the Messiah. They introduce the astronauts here.
Right. Robert Duvall, you know?
John Favreau. Skinny
Fuck,
John Favreau.
Man.
Like Swingers era John Favreau.
Completely forgot he was in this fucking movie.
Definitely did too. Like loved him back then.
Shit,
completely like spaced out him.
Mary McCormick.
Oh yeah.
She was great.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yeah. And so we get introduced to this team.
Jenny gets the first question and she asks the president, why weren't people told sooner? And at the same time this is happening, now you're starting to intercut back into the newsroom, like the behind the scenes stuff. And they're all like panicking, like, hey, how big was a meteor that took out the dinosaurs? And like, you're getting this live, like real time feedback from people as they watch the broadcast. This is where you're also starting to see like tidbits of people watching, like things like that start getting sprinkled in.
They're working on graphics
too,
working on that funny like animation. Yeah.
In this press conference, they also reveal that somehow they got confused and thought that Biederman and Wolf died at the same time. So like you have like little Biederman watching the TV and the whole world thinks he's dead. Like there was some interesting little stuff they
they knock on his door.
In there.
And he's like, I'm not dead, everyone. I'm alive.
His whole neighborhood shows up.
Like, what the fuck?
So then you're going to the like party with the astronauts. So you got like John Favreau, Blair Underwood is one of the astronauts. Like, beautiful Blair Underwood. Kurtwood Smith.
Oh, Kurtwood Smith, man. Such a fan.
Fucking love Kurtwood Smith.
Such a fan of that guy, man.
Always love him.
Yeah. Robert Duvall's character is sort of like, he's realizing I'm just like the old man here. Everyone's so young and youthful, but he's the pilot and he knows how to pilot this. And you start to get a sense that there's not too much tension, but there's tension between him and the crew. I really enjoy these parts of the twin films because this is something that both films are doing. They are establishing the old guard versus the new guard. And obviously in Armageddon, you're getting that in two ways. You're getting that with Bruce Willis being an expert in drilling and like the drilling people versus the astronaut people. Yeah. But also you're getting Bruce Willis versus AJ, old versus young guard. Right. So in Deep Impact, same vibes, exact same setup. I don't know. It's very parallel in this perspective. It's like same ideas executed differently. And I think that is pretty cool to observe. And then what's cool is that Armageddon spends a chunk of time showing you how they're training to get there. Yeah. This movie just like, fuck that. You're launching. You're going. Like they don't even spend any time showing them. They're like, no, they're seasoned astronauts. They're good. Like, we're going to send them out there. Bye. I wrote all of a sudden. Yeah, this is another big time jump. Yeah. This Deep Impact for me suffers the most in terms of continuity when they rely on these big time jumps to move the story forward. They've landed and Robert Duvall's like, I'm the captain now. Like he's like, this is my ship now. Yeah, that's right. And then they start intercutting back to Jenny when she's on the anchor desk for the first time. When shit's confusing up there, they're like cutting back to her and she's giving you this like 20-second delay. Yeah. 20-second delay. The drilling's taking too long. Very similar, but unlike Armageddon, the drill is not the focus. It's just they're
that's what they're
That's
doing.
just a
And they're just
tool.
talking about it. Like, we're not even really seeing that process
The
much.
drill is not a big or part of it.
No, the astronaut is jumping on a nuclear warhead.
Yeah.
That does not track for me. I know if you're an astronaut, you got to be prepared to like give your life to space. Still would not jump on a nuclear warhead.
Yeah.
Just gonna say that. Sorry. Like sunrise is coming to the other, not sunrise, but like the asteroid's turning and they're like the sun is gonna hit them.
No, it is a sunrise.
Yeah.
It's a sunrise.
So the asteroid starts like having those gas vent explosions. Also, same exact thing in Armageddon. But here you're cutting into these like inside the helmet cam shots from the actual astronaut, which like as a directorial camera choice, I really appreciate here because it is such an ensemble cast and it's very emotional. Like you are right in there with them. They're really getting personal with these astronauts in this moment of stress and Deep Impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think you really feel that peril when all of a sudden they're like, you got to put the shade down. They're starting to lose control, and then that guy, you know, it hits
gets
his
like
eyes.
blinded. Yeah,
it blinds him, fucks up his face. We got to get moving. We got to go. And Robert Duvall is like, you know, the one in charge, getting him out of there. And then Gus, Jon Favreau, he dies.
Oh, so
he just gets blown away. I think.
Yeah,
right?
like one of those little vents, like shoots him off.
The ship gets damaged, but most of everyone is saved, and they're able to get away.
And Earth is getting the news. It's not looking good.
Right.
And you're kind of seeing people react. Then you get a lot of really cryptic cuts to different like military people getting phone calls. Then you're going back to the newsroom to report that even though the explosion went off, now there's just 2 meteors coming to Earth. The blowing up the asteroid didn't work. And now they're saying, now the president is informing everyone, don't worry, we had a backup plan. And that's when they announced the caves and the lottery system.
And to go to Missouri.
Yeah,
right?
like Nevada or what, like all these different, like Idaho.
Yeah. And so that's when they start talking about that lottery. If you're over the age of 50,
you won't get selected. And you cut right to Vanessa Redgrave and she's like, well, that's the end.
Yeah.
That's hard. I think she's such a brilliant actress, obviously, but she doesn't get a ton of screen time, but has a huge impact. You sympathize with her so much.
And then you also have the moment where Tia Leone is announcing it. She's like, if you're over 50, you will not be, and you can tell she's like thinking about her mother.
Yeah, like she probably isn't knowing this beforehand. She's like reading it off a teleprompter and having to not have a reaction to the fact that she knows her mom's and dad are about to die. That's a mind fuck.
Yeah.
And you can't have a reaction to it.
And then you go back and then you go to Elijah Wood. He's looking for Lily Sobieski. I got her. What's her character?
No, anyway, it's just Lily Sobieski.
And then he's like, we can get married. She looks at him like,
yeah, like she doesn't seem on board right away.
Like, and then I think she says, I'd rather fucking die.
Bring on the meteor.
And then you go to Jenny's mother, Vanessa Redgrave, where she has this night where she puts on a dress. Great scene.
Yeah, like they had just had like tea and like she tells Jenny how she just donated all her art to go into the caves and that they're trying to preserve art along with all the other.
She feels useful. She feels good about it. Yeah.
And you think she's like, okay, she's like trying to deal with this. And then now we're with her and she's like getting all dressed up.
She's getting all dressed up. And then she drinks something. And we find out later that she kills herself.
Yeah.
Fuck. And Tia Leone's reaction to that? Oh my God, devastating. Devastating. There is a quick scene where Elijah Wood is like, are you working on a dirt bike? Why do I keep talking?
Elijah Wood does kind of have that voice in the movie.
You working on a dirt bike?
He's very young.
And then he's just like, yeah, this thing's dangerous, whatever. And then it's going to play in later.
Yes. Later, that's like he's going to have to come in and find that key. Right. And so the fact that he just happened to be there in that moment like becomes very helpful.
Yeah.
And it ends with Biederman getting married.
Right. He gets married. So now they're a husband and wife. They're trying to get on the bus.
Her mom has had the baby also. They're telling Elijah Wood he has to go. Like Biederman's like, you have to get on this bus and we can only take your wife. And then she's like, no, I'm not going to leave them behind.
Yeah. I do like that moment when Elijah Wood looks at the parents. I'm being completely honest with you. Like, I put you on the list.
Yeah. He's like trying.
He's like, please, you got to believe me. I put you on the list.
Okay, now we're going into like Mickey Mouse territory.
And then he gets on the bus and she stays behind and he's just like, fuck.
Everyone thinks like all hope is lost. So it really has become chaos.
It's chaos. People throwing shit.
And people are just showing up at the Ark trying to get in, even though they're not on the list. It's like the hottest club in town, but you ain't allowed.
Yeah.
Then we are following Elijah Wood, like Biederman's. He's arriving at the Ark and realizing he can't go in without his family, without everyone else. And that's when he bounces.
Up in space, right? Robert Duvall devises a plan. Like the first meteor we can't do anything about, but the second meteor, we can blow it up. We can like head towards it and like knock it off or blow it up.
Yeah. And they're realizing while they're on the shuttle that they burned too much fuel.
Yeah.
Like they might not make it back anyway.
Right.
So there's this new perspective, and it's a really ominous part of the movie because this is when, you've just heard from the president, like, this is it. You're on your own now. Like, these waves are coming.
Yeah.
And then it's like 2 years of like the world being dead. And then we'll come out of the caves. Like, it is, all hope is lost. This is the true dark night of the soul, like low point of the movie. And this is when I started crying uncontrollably for probably the last like 20 minutes of the film.
Oh my God, what happened?
I guess I watched this movie a lot and remember it being really intense and difficult. But, I was a teenager. My sense of mortality and those kind of things were maybe different. Like watching it again after not having watched it in so long was like reliving a trauma I had moved on from. And I was not expecting to have that emotional response, but I really was like upset the world was ending in this movie.
Wow. Holy shit.
Like could not stop myself. My mom was laughing at me, like watching on the couch next to me. My dad made fun of me the next day. Just like, didn't even want to, just like my body was just like, we're having a cry.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
Yeah. But it was like, it's like in that scene when Duvall's like, we're not going to make it back. We're going to save the world. And they decide to sacrifice themselves. And someone in the shuttle goes, well, look on the bright side. At least we'll all have schools named after us.
Yeah, fucking A, man.
But like, that is so fucking accurate.
No, but it's also like, we're talking about like a serious situation. Why are you making fucking jokes right now, man?
Because what else do you do? It's the end of the world.
God damn. So yeah, they're all in agreement. All right, fuck it. This is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, they're gonna nuke the big comet, so at least they can take that out, and then maybe the little comet will hit and do a lot of damage, but they'll save a ton of people.
And then when that first meteor hits, that's where you get that big action sequence where it's fucking terrifying. It's like the way it just like floods New York, destroying all these buildings and people running and they're panicking
and you're in the newsroom. Yeah, you're seeing all these crazy traffic jams, people trying to get out of the city, cutting to the newsroom, and they're like, Jenny, your helicopter's here. You have to go. But Jenny realizes she isn't going to go to the caves. And she realizes she has to save her friend and this kid. And she gives up her spot in the Ark for her friend to, like, her boss to go. Yeah. And she goes to be with her dad.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, I'm going to cry again.
It's okay. And she also does the I'm not going. And at this point where I'm like, do any of these fucking people want to be saved?
Nope.
My God. Elijah Wood's character goes back to his house. It's like abandoned. Everyone's left. And that's when he does the jar thing.
Yeah.
And he's like,
finds a like BMX key. Yep.
Then gets on the motorbike. And then then he starts like looking for Lily Sobeski.
Right. Like he's going back again, like through the traffic jams to find her and her family's car.
Right.
That scene is so intense.
Yeah. And so as this shit's like going down, like all this damage is happening, he finally is able to find her.
Yeah.
And she's just like freaking out. They give her the baby. You're like, you gotta go. Just save yourself.
That was when my emotional crying like took another turn, where they're like shoving their brand new baby into their daughter's hands, and their daughter who just got married, who's way too young to be married, is now a mom to her sister. I know they don't have a motorbike too, but aren't those parents trying to run, at least try to survive for their brand new child? No. They're just like, bye, we'll stay here and die.
Yeah.
That was hard for me to understand. And they're getting that motorbike with the, These two kids with a baby strapped on a motorbike in the middle of the apocalypse, going up some hillside, trying to survive as the second comet hits.
Yeah.
Woo.
They go back to Tia Leone. She's looking for her father. It's like he knows where he went. He goes by, she goes to that beach. They're like reunited and they have that hug.
They just hug.
And the
like,
fucking wave is coming. And she's like, Daddy. And then they're dead.
Dead.
I'm just going to say it was not emotionally connected to that moment at all.
That got me.
Oh, shit.
That always got me.
What's interesting, too, is that it made me...
Why didn't it get you?
It's because, you know what it was? I didn't buy the father. I think because I was so team mom.
And they don't sell it enough. I 100% agree. But I sort of understand that decision in that moment. Because it's like, what else do you do? Where else do you go?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it intellectually. I just wasn't, I don't know, maybe it was just, there was so much hostility with her and the dad. I just felt like I didn't.
It is weird because they're leaving you, like, it's so up and down with them. Like that dinner where she like kind of rejects the stepmom is so hard. And even the scene when he brings her the picture, you never see Jenny soften to him.
Yeah.
So even if we ourselves may have softened to him, they're never showing on screen her softening until her mom's dead, which I don't know. It makes a lot of sense if that would harden her even more against her father.
Yeah, I mean...
I see what you mean there.
I mean, I guess they try because then she's like, I do remember when we were at the beach, I lied about that, all that stuff.
Yeah. But it's a hard sell.
I wasn't moved by it. The relationship stuff, I was with Tia Leone.
Yeah.
Her story was awesome, but that ending I was like, what the I felt like a lot of moments weren't earned. If Deep Impact had that moment at the end where she's hugging her parent, if it was with her mom, I would have felt that, I think.
Yeah.
Not with the dad.
If she had chosen to die with her mother, that would have made more sense for me too.
Yeah.
You're very right.
Because I feel like that's established from the beginning, that they have a relationship.
And it's weird if the dad had the wife leave him and then he committed suicide and then she was just left with her mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that honestly, you got me there. That one would have been more on story for me. Yeah, the end is a little they go a little camp cheese for me because like then you get back to the presidential Morgan Freeman narration where it's like the waters receded, our planet, our home. Now let us begin. It's like it's a very corny way to end what was a very scientific, serious movie. And I think it undercuts the emotionality of the ending.
Yeah. I was more emotional with Robert Duvall's death. When he decides, him and the crew decide, we're going for it, we're going to save the world. And him talking about his kids can't be there to say goodbye.
And they keep reinforcing this idea with Robert Duvall that he is just a self-sacrificial human. And he believes in pride and country and he's not, obviously he wants to say goodbye to his children, but he's so understanding. They're serving their country too. I don't know. It's sad.
He just has such a commitment to duty, to doing the right thing. I don't know. His character I connected with the most. His whole arc. They succeed in, blowing up the fucking asteroid. They see it from the skies. That's when you see like, oh, this was a success. Elijah Wood's character is with Lily Sobieski and the baby and they're looking up and I'm like, what a bizarre family.
They're taking Modern Family to a new level with that one. I'm like, okay, here we go.
I kind of want to like now write a sequel to Deep Impact.
The Biedermans? No, it's a sitcom. It's a sitcom.
It's like, what the fuck is going on in that family?
Oh, they're definitely getting a divorce.
My God.
Period. When the
that
world,
poor child.
When the world comes out of the caves, those two getting a divorce. I guess they don't. They can just come out of the caves now. Maybe
I can see the child being like 25, and someone's like, "Damn, where were you when the asteroid blew up?" And she was just like, "I don't want to fucking talk about that time."
They end up as the Grey Gardens ladies. Like she divorces Biederman, and they're Grey Gardens. Like it is some twisted family dynamic shit.
All right, let's talk about Armageddon. Our next film is Armageddon. It came out in July 1st, 1998. It was directed by none other than Michael Bay. The story and screenplay is by J.J. Abrams, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Hensley.
Yeah.
It was produced by Michael Bay, Gail Ann Hurd, Chad Jim Van Wyck, and Jerry Bruckheimer. The budget was $140 million. Wow.
Damn.
Its U.S. gross was 201 million. My God, that's good. And 553 million worldwide. Damn,
That's
for that,
crazy.
that's a hit.
And that's a very large budget for the 90s. 140 million is pretty unheard of back then. So for it to not only make its money, but more than double its money, impressive turn. And that's a crazy combo of Bruckheimer and Bay and J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, Woo. nuts. Right off the bat, so cool. Because you have Charlton Heston as the narrator talking about the meteor hit the earth when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. It's just the way he says it is so fucking dramatic and cool. It happened before. It will happen again. It's just a question of when. Bruce Willis.
And then it's like the fiery titles.
Armageddon. Fucking dope. It's cool, man. This is a fucking man's movie.
Yeah, it's not starting with high schoolers looking at stars at night. It's like fucking talking about the dinosaurs getting bit.
You go to the space station. There's,
Yeah. Oh my God, that opening sequence.
That opening scene, the space station.
So intense. This is what I'm talking about. This is your classic action movie starting with a giant set piece that never ever plays again in the entire movie.
Yeah. So the guy's on the space station. He's tinkering with a satellite, I think.
Yeah, and they're like on a spacewalk.
Yeah,
it's
and he's like nervous, freaking out.
Fucking sweating.
Yeah, Billy Bob Thornton's like, take it easy. I'll give you a buffalo nickel. What the fuck's a buffalo nickel?
It's very valuable. It's worth a lot of money.
Oh shit!
It's like a rare nickel that's worth a shitload of money.
Oh, he's like, I'll give you a buffalo nickel if you calm down.
He's like just straight up bribing him. He's like, let's get your heart rate down, man. I know you can do this. He doesn't know he can do it. He's just like trying to sue this dude who's like, the medics are like, let's pull the spacewalk. You're establishing Billy Bob being awesome at his job and that he needs to be the person that calms the astronauts down and gets them to complete the job, which is what his purpose is in the film.
Yeah, and then I always find it funny though. It's like, calm down, and he's relaxing, and then boom, he gets fucking... So it's like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? And this meteor shower hits, and they're like, oh shit, what's going on?
And for all the care Billy Bob just had for that man, they just cut to him going, roll the tape back. Fuck.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, what the fuck was this? These are Russian? Who the fuck? This is an attack. And then you go to New York, of course, New York again, with Eddie Griffin.
Oh my God, Eddie Griffin with his little dog.
And then just meteors start fucking destroying New York.
For me, Michael Bay movies, Jerry Bruckheimer movies often feel very chaotic. They're not as worried about plot points lining up. Yeah. They'll do a quick cut out of nowhere with no context. They're moving the story along with action. They're not as concerned about those plot holes. And I want to say this up front. One of my favorite facts that I was looking up the trivia for these movies, Armageddon for years, and maybe still to this day, was shown to NASA employees when they got their management training. Mm-hmm. So if you worked your way up in NASA and you were going to manager level and you went through that training process, they would do all sorts of stuff. And one of the things they would do is show you this video. And you watched Armageddon. And do you know why?
To catch the errors.
And the highest count they ever got was 168.
That's crazy.
NASA errors.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like...
They're not concerned about
that's
factuality, like
that's
science.
Michael Bay, he's focused on making... He really leaned into the entertainment.
Yeah.
And
explosions.
He just leaned all the way into it. He's not trying to make something realistic.
Yeah.
He just wants to entertain you.
They use the term global killer for Armageddon, whereas we had an extinction level event.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is a big deal. And then you realize we have 18 days.
That's crazy.
That's fucking nuts. If I was right, I would have been like 30 days.
I have severe timeline issues with this film. You're getting this Chiron that's like 18 days till impact, and then you hard cut, and this is the first time you meet Bruce Willis. Like, this is when you meet Harry.
Right.
And you've had this whole intro with all this crazy stuff, and just like in Deep Impact, where it takes you a minute to like go and meet Jenny in the newsroom, here it's taking you a while to go meet Harry, and you go to the oil rig and he's fucking hitting golf balls onto the Greenpeace boat.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love Greenpeace, but it's fucking funny. It's a really funny bit.
I think, and then his right-hand man, Will Patton, is just like, there was something going on with the oil, and he's like, God damn it, AJ.
Yeah, he's like, he had shut down one of the drills or pipes or whatever, but AJ ran it anyway because he had an intuition. and it like did well and it helped them strike oil that day, but it doesn't matter because like he disrespected the order.
Right.
So
and then
a lot
he
of
goes
like,
looking for him, and that's when you see that he's with his daughter.
that scene is brilliant because like he's going to cuss out the dude, and the cutaway to Liv's foot trying to pull under the cover. Choice. It's choice. That I love that scene. There's so much tension that they build with the framing of it, the editing of it.
Yeah, I will say that
it's a really good scene.
I mean, honestly, that's why. Look, I know people talk a lot of shit about like Michael Bay and stuff, but this is why he's a spectacular action director. You can say all this stuff about character story, yes, but even a little scene like that, it's so tense. Even though this isn't a big action sequence, you're like, this is really like this is stressing me out a little bit.
And they find these new ways to escalate it. Like, okay, AJ's in trouble with his boss. His boss is going to go cuss him out. Oh, he's got a girl in the room. He's going to get in even more trouble. Yeah. Oh, no. That girl is your boss's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It just keeps escalating. And that's brilliant. And that's already a good payoff. And then the following sequences where Bruce Willis, Harry's character, is losing his mind and shooting a shotgun on an oil rig.
But also the banter is so lighthearted that you don't actually think he's going to kill him. That whole sequence was really fun. You get all these dynamics, but it's moving. It's so fast paced. You're getting a sense of this oil rig, how it works. And
yes. And you see how the team all comes together to protect each other in a time of crisis. Cause then it goes from him trying to kill AJ to the rig striking oil and the financiers flying in on the helicopter. All this chaos is happening. The rig might almost explode because they've struck oil. And then on top of everything, the NASA guys land and they just take Harry away. And he's like, I'm taking my daughter. We're going to find out what's up. And then they get taken away. This is where the timeline really got me.
Because they're in like South China Sea or something, right?
How long do you think that took?
I think they mentioned 18 hours or some shit.
No.
Yeah, they went from South China Sea to
so
Houston.
The rig was in South China Sea. Okay, so maybe 2 days. It tops, right, to get to Houston. And then maybe they get a day or two to get briefed at Houston about what's happening and why we need your team to assemble. And then they cut to like Harry and Grace at NASA getting the whole spiel about like how the world's ending and the asteroids.
When they arrive and they get like briefed, Bruce Willis and Liv Tyler, I do like that moment where Liv Tyler like holds his hand. It's like a protect.
Oh my gosh, so emotional. Yeah, under the table. It's so vulnerable because like you want to see him as purely just this like patriarchal strongman. Grace is his humanity. And that's the first time you're really seeing that between them because their intro was like
right. And
headbutting.
I think that's why it's so good because I think it works because now that they've faced an end of the world kind of things, they've dropped all that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're here for each other.
Yeah.
So very smart, very clever.
Bruce Willis has that whole sequence where he meets the quote unquote real astronauts and he's like, all this shit's wrong. I need to bring in my crew.
Yeah.
Right? Again, how long do you think that happens? Like 2 or 3 days more. Now you're talking like, okay, we were 18 days from impact. Yeah. So maybe now we've had 4 days go by. In the 4 to 5 days since you fired AJ from the rig in South Asia somewhere, he started his own company and has his name as the president in front of some working oil rig?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
None of that makes sense. I do love the montage where they assemble the crew. Like Avengers Assemble montage. Great.
That's a great sequence.
But also the most irking sequence of the entire movie.
Yeah, no, the timeline, that's what I'm saying. They should have done like 60 days, 30 days, 60 days or something. Then the timeline could have made more sense, you know? So when they're showing him the drill, his design, all this stuff. And then there is that famous DVD commentary from Ben Affleck. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
So when Ben Affleck starts saying like, he asked Michael Bay, like, wouldn't it be easier to just train astronauts how to drill instead of teaching drillers how to be astronauts? And Michael Bay was like, just shut the fuck up. Like, it works. It's fine. It's like, it's fine. But Ben Affleck just starts like making these jokes like, here comes this guy like, oh, I'm the one in charge and I know what I'm doing. And you guys don't know shit. These NASA people don't know shit about drilling. Like...
And he gives it to him, like he doubles down on it. He's like, oh, you trained him for 8 months? I spent my whole life doing this. I'm a third generation driller.
And
it's
even
like,
then, I don't know what I'm doing.
like, okay, but do you know how things freeze in space? Because the astronauts know how things freeze in space.
Yeah,
like,
and
that feels important too.
That was a moment that I'm like, damn, Bruce Willis was talented because he sold that. I got to agree with Ben Affleck. It's like, this doesn't really make any fucking sense.
Yeah. And now they're all like at this table. And it looks like the Avengers house.
Yeah.
And they're sitting around this like war room kind of table. And Bruce Willis gives that really iconic line. The United States government just asked you to save the world. Anyone want to say no?
They're told what the mission is. And they're all like, whoa,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on? Like, wow.
The preparation before the big fight starts, like this is classic action movie fodder. You got to have a training montage, and it's got to be a montage.
Yeah.
It's not just like some dialogue. It's like full on montage, and they're doing the psych evals.
Right.
They're doing the training. One of the things I related to the most was how they keep cutting to Michael Clark Duncan in his psych eval, and he's just crying. And the dude's like, let it out, let it out.
Yeah.
Like,
I love Will Patton when he's just like, I'm just uncomfortable being in this room. In this room. I just don't like being in this room. They all fail the psych test, but they're like, all right, okay, but can their bodies make it to
can they
space?
survive the journey? And they're like,
yeah.
like, why did you do all that if you were just going to be like, let him go die in space? And at this point now, we're about 6 days out.
This is fucking
So this has all happened in 12 days from when the explosion happened on the oil rig to the night they get off. Like Bruce Willis goes to NASA and is like fighting. They need to take a night off. They're never going to survive this journey. They got to remember what they're fighting for, I think he says.
Yeah, because there's that whole like training session, which honestly, I'm with Bruce Willis' character. It's like AJ does not fucking listen.
No.
It's just like, it's such rebellious.
He's a hothead.
He's a hothead, but he's like not good at what he's doing. He's just always like
well,
fucking
that's
up.
what's weird is they're saying his results are good, but his like approach is reckless.
Okay.
So they're saying like
right.
he's the best guy on the rig, but he doesn't follow orders.
Yeah.
So that kind of is a little bit contrarian to me.
Yeah, I guess it just show him always like fucking up.
Yeah.
You know, so AJ starts to like annoy me a little bit.
Yeah, he definitely annoys me
Yeah.
the whole movie.
You know,
The
and
whole
then
movie.
yeah, and then you know,
Like lives better than that. I agree with Harry.
you agree with Harry. He's like, you
I
can do
agree
better
with
than that.
Harry.
Yeah, and then there's that scene where Bruce Willis sees them like hugging and he's like, will you marry me? And she's just like, oh my God. Bruce Willis is like, you know, he has this moment where he's talking to all the riggers and they're like, you got to accept that your daughter's hot, man. She's a babe. And he's like, all right, that's enough. It's like, listen, we all have a say and you just got to let her grow. You're like, you got to let her be. And he's just like, no, I never wanted her to be with a roughneck. I want her to be better than this. Like, this is not the life.
She's better than us. Really good acting here, especially Will Patton. Like, his best friend is calling him less than. And it's upsetting. And then in the middle of that speech, Bruce Willis is kind of trying to course correct. But at the end of the day, it's like, you don't respect yourself when you're saying that. And you want better for her. But it's like, you're a good dad and you're not a bad person because you live on an oil rig. Like, it's hard to see him create this struggle. I love the way she claps back at that throughout the film, increasingly to where the end result is, I was raised by roughnecks. How would you not expect me to fall in love with one?
Yeah.
This is all I know. And that makes so much sense.
And then, you know, and then he feels like guilt-ridden, like you had a terrible life. And she's like, no, I love my life. Like,
this is who I am.
This is like, I love this. I love what my life is, you know?
Harry's relationship with Grace is the complete emotional arc of that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like the
100%.
AJ stuff is like auxiliary just to reinforce the Harry Grace of it all.
The famous Aerosmith song, the Animal Crackers scene.
That scene, I mean, when you think of Armageddon, obviously you think of the action part. Like it's a Michael Bay movie. It's a Bruckheimer movie. You think of the action. And then you think about I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. And you think about the Animal Crackers. I mean, that fucking shit was weird and corny and sexy all at the same time. I didn't understand it. None of it made sense to me, but it was bad and hot all at the same time. I still don't understand it.
Honestly, if I was an actor, God bless Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler in that scene.
I don't know how they weren't cracking up.
Yeah.
And then here's what the one weird thing for me about that is like, there's also like in the next scene, they also cut to, there's another Aerosmith song like blasting really loud. So like, I understand the family connection. Like obviously Liv
Tyler is Aerosmith's, Mick Jagger's. No. What the fuck am I talking about? Steven Tyler.
Yeah, like Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler's Steven Tyler's daughter. Okay,
right.
guys?
So like, of course you're going to use that. Of course you're going to get Aerosmith to write. And back then, that was a thing. If you had a summer blockbuster or a big, like even a rom-com, you would release a soundtrack and you would make a shitload of money on that title song. Like, look at... We've talked about Titanic taking home all the Oscars, including For My Heart Will Go On. And the way that those songs like kept those movies going was so integral. I mean, even TV shows like Ally McBeal were releasing their soundtracks. That was such a thing. And Aerosmith, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, was one of the top songs of that year, period.
And then actually after this, there is a great sequence when the president's speech.
Oh, yeah.
And you have this launch,
we're an hour into the movie.
I know, dude. Okay, yes.
We're an hour into the movie at this point, and they have not even launched the rocket, and they're just telling the public.
Honestly, I love that whole montage. They're like getting ready to go into the rocket.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's launch day, and they're telling the public.
Yeah. I was cringing with the whole leaving on a jet plane.
Awful.
And then Bruce Willis's goodbye to his daughter is like, I promise I'll come back. And that's going to be important later. Yeah. And so that's where they have this moment of like, I want the best for you, but, and all this stuff. And then she's like, and bring me my fiance back. Yeah. And he's just like, God damn it.
That's when she reveals they're engaged. Yeah. Clever Grace reveal. They really, I think, write her very sharply. And I love that.
Let's talk about this third act as like one big sequence, because so much shit happens. And it is so fucking insane. It's so intense. It's like, honestly, edge of my seat. I was so fucking tensed up. Once they're in space and they go to that space station, the Russian space station, it's like a fucking thrill ride.
The last hour of the film is one giant set piece after another. So it's the space station set piece, and then it's very quickly the slingshot around the moon, and then to the asteroid set pieces, of which there are obviously a few.
I also think this movie could have benefited from like 30 or 40 minutes out of it.
I love the ISS, the Russian space station sequence. It's great, and it's very effective in reinforcing the fact that AJ is going to constantly be like separated from the group. And the guy who plays the Russian cosmonaut is always the Russian cosmonaut. He's great in everything. He's wonderful. He's flawless. And the way it's like he's hitting things, and so the whole thing's breaking down. Love all that.
Yeah.
Didn't need any of that sequence.
100%.
Just like, no. Slingshot him around the fucking moon and get him to the asteroid.
100% agree.
2.5 hours for this movie was 40 minutes too long.
It was just too much. It was just
too much.
Too much. So the whole fueling scene was just, I agree with you. It was unnecessary.
It's awesome.
It's cool.
But it feels like something out of Sunshine or Event Horizon.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like something out of Armageddon for me.
Yeah. I definitely 100% agree, because once they do the sling, because you want them to just be on the asteroid. Once they do the slingshot and they're on the 22 Gs, oh my God, I am like so tensed up. I'm just like, oh my God, it's just too much. It was just like, fuck.
My anxiety is
so terrifying. And then once they're flying into the asteroid, and then one craft just gets hit.
Yep.
And that's when like Owen Wilson's character dies.
So stressful from this point on, like from the space station on. None of these fuckers wear their helmets.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Do you know how much this irks me? Like, you gonna die out there. You got a better shot if you fucking keep your helmet on. Asteroids are all like flying around all the time. You never put your helmet on.
Yeah.
I yelled at the TV multiple times, and this sequence was one of them. Because literally your buddies are landing. Landing procedure means you put on your fucking helmet.
Yeah.
Especially if you're crash landing into a giant asteroid of doom.
Yeah. and the only people that survive are the ones that go into the cargo bay.
Right. But nobody knows they survived because they lose all the signal.
They lose
and
the
they're
signal.
like stuck under some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you as an audience aren't sure if they've really survived for a while. Like that's scary.
And then back to Harry's ship, they land, but they were also having trouble and they're 26 miles off the mark. Here's the thing though. Harry is never deterred. As a viewer, I'm thinking, oh, this is game over. And he's like, okay, we gotta do this now. We gotta do that. Like, he's just like, he knows what to do at any given moment. Yeah.
Because he has promised himself to complete this mission. And so like, no matter what, he's going to do it. And you don't really fully understand the stakes of that until the very end. While all this is happening, you've got AJ and Bear and the Russian guy in the other vehicle and they're fucking jumping over Grand Canyon on the asteroid. Like that was all totally bonkers, but still intense.
Yeah,
just,
but
like,
you see, that's another scene I would have cut out.
Yeah, I would have absolutely. And how hard is that to film? Like that vehicle.
We're basically saying that we should have cut out the Russian.
I love him though.
I love him too. He's a great
actor. I love that actor. Don't want to lose that character, but would have lost all those sequences. Like AJ, they should have been one shuttle.
Yeah.
And none of that space station docking should have happened for me.
Yeah, so that's happening. They're trying to reach them.
The army guys are trying to decide if they should remote detonate the nuke or like let the guys try and finish drilling. But they can't talk to anyone. And Liv Tyler is down on the floor in mission control, which again would never happen.
William Fichtner obviously knows this is the backup plan. And
oh my God, when he opens that safe and pulls out that gun and that like instruction.
He's on the move. He's just moving his ass because he is fucking scared.
He's just following that protocol because he doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even seem like he wants to do it at that point. Yeah, I vibed. I felt that vibe
Well,
too.
when he gets the fucking news that they're only like 57 feet deep, he's like, they're going to fail. And so, that whole thing was great. That whole standoff. It's a countdown. And even back at NASA, they're trying to block it. Bruce Willis has him locked with that. Like,
Oh my God, he has a clamper on his neck. Yes. Oh my God, that was so crazy.
And then he's just like, come on, we can do this. I can do this.
I will finish this job.
Yeah, he's like, you swear to me you can do this.
And then at the very last second, he's like, red wire, blue wire, red. And they're like, oh my God, just got a wire.
Oh my God. That whole fucking thing is so
not stop.
anxiety. It does not fucking stop. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. After the warhead is like stopped, they hit a pocket of gas or something.
Pocket, yeah.
And fucking explodes.
Max is in the vehicle and the whole vehicle gets like launched into space. And like his whole vehicle, the whole drilling vehicle like goes into space. So they're all fucked. And that's when they're really like, that's it. That's it. Like, we're not going to achieve our goal here.
That's a really, really low moment. AJ shows up.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh my God, yes, let's do it. And so they're back on and they start drilling. And this is another moment where AJ's like, just trust me. And I'm like, oh my God, this fucking idiot.
And I don't trust him.
I don't trust him.
Really, at this point, AJ is asking Harry to trust him, right?
Yeah.
They're having their moment. But the reality of that is that Harry is trusting Grace, who trusts AJ. So what's crazy, like that for me is where the emotional dynamic pays off so successfully because you can see it in his head and Bruce Willis ain't saying shit, but you're like seeing it all. Like he doesn't fully trust AJ yet.
Yeah.
But he's finally learned to trust his daughter and he lets AJ keep going.
That's cool, Drew. I didn't even think about it that way, but yeah, I think you're right.
He's like, fine, keep drilling. And
they make it. Yeah.
They get past 800 feet. Like they like, get that fucking drill out. Let's put this bomb in and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And then the fucking asteroid starts fighting back. And that's when people start flying. The fucking detonator gets all fucked up on the warhead.
Yeah. There's like earthquakes. And
earthquake.
Fissures happening. Yeah. Super intense. And that's when they're like, okay, someone needs to stay behind. And so AJ draws the short straw.
Yeah. And Harry's already made up his mind. Whoever gets chosen, he's not going to let them go. He's going to do this. Because like you said, he doesn't quit. He's going to get the job done.
And he's already said, I don't trust anyone else to do it right. He told Grace, like, I have to go be the one to go into space and do this because I don't trust anyone else to get it done right.
And that's when, they're going down. They're having their conversation. And he's
like, I'll walk you out.
Yeah, I'll walk you
out. He says. AJ's like, this is my job. I'm here to do my job. And Harry, I might cry.
Okay.
Bruce Willis dying on screen is not good for me. And AJ's like, I'm gonna do it, and like tell Grace I love her, and like I'm gonna do my job. I'm here to finish the job. Harry's like, your job is taking care of my daughter.
Oh yeah.
And he fucking pulls that hose.
Yeah.
And shoves him back in the airlock.
Yeah.
And maybe this is the best acting that Ben Affleck has ever done when he's like, Harry.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And he's like banging on the glass, and like Harry just like pushes a button and like sends him back up in the ship.
But then he's just like, I always saw you as a son.
Oh God. That got me.
Yeah.
It's a little weirdly incestuous that you're like sending your daughter off to your son. Like, so in that way, the line feels a little weird to me, but I was still crying while he said it. Yeah,
my son. Oh God.
I've always thought of you as a son. And he's like, I'm proud as hell of you. Like he says.
It's like he's finally accepted him. He's accepted everything because that's why it's so cathartic and that the arc works because, as you said, he trusts Grace.
And he knows that AJ is deserving of Grace and vice versa. Yeah. And like, this is the best outcome.
Then Ben Affleck goes back up. They see him and they're like Harry took it or whatever. And Will Patton's just like, stubborn son of a bitch, And that's when
it's the most loving like insult I've ever heard.
And this is the scene. This next scene is this was staged beautifully. The Liv Tyler goodbye. You see his face all over the screens, and it's like all of NASA's hearing this.
It's so emotional.
It's so fucking emotional. That scene, it got me.
I love you. I am you. This is who I want to be, and I'm happy. Like, oh my, everything you want to hear from a parent and everything a parent would want to hear from a kid. Yeah. Like it checks all those boxes.
And then what made me like choke up was when she's like, Daddy, no. And then the scream go, oh my God. Yeah, that scene fucking got me. And then
yeah.
And then of course, it can't be a fucking easy detonation.
No, still one more complication.
It's like they're about to fly out.
They're about to get to and the asteroid's about to hit the zero barrier,
yes.
like the point of no return. And Harry gets like blown down the mine shaft.
Yeah.
Great, of course.
Yeah. And then the shuttle loses power.
Ugh.
And so you're like, what
the
fuck?
They can't even start the fucking thing.
It's like, so what the fuck? And so then
I forgot about that.
The lady astronaut goes down there. The Russian goes down there. She's trying to figure it out. She's freaking out. And then he just gets the fucking wrench and just starts beating it.
Hitting it.
It's like, that's how you I want to go home.
That's how you fix things on the Russian spaceship. Yeah, he's got a fucking crowbar against that.
And then
but it works.
But then they take off. And then Bruce Willis is, of course, struggling to fucking detonate the fucking.
And William Fisher's like, something's wrong. We
gotta
go back.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta should we turn around? Like, this is too long. Like, he now fully trusts Bruce Willis and knows he would have gotten the job done, and something's wrong. Like, that is also a show of respect in that moment in this weird way I love. But AJ is like, and the whole team, like Will Patton, everybody's like, Harry will get the job done.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Just go.
That whole moment of like he closes his eyes open, and he reflects back to his daughter. Oh my God.
The like life flash before your eyes of it all. And wow, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I remember when I saw this in theaters, when I first saw that moment, it was just brilliant. You don't expect it.
No.
At all. Even rewatching it, I knew it was coming, but I had forgotten how it was executed. And it was just like, holy shit. It was really good.
Yeah, you just survived the most stressful asteroid experience of your life, and you get this.
Yeah.
And that it's out of nowhere, and that really does like punch you in the gut in the way it's supposed to. It really achieves.
And also,
that.
I love this idea of that shot of Bruce Willis just in the dark. There's like a spotlight on him. It's like, wow. It's like he feels is completely isolated.
Yeah.
And he's just there and with that memory.
Honestly, it felt like something out of the Truman Show would have done. Like, it felt like a Peter Weir kind of move almost. It was so poetic and, I don't know, measured.
When they land.
Yeah, the heroes welcome home.
I love William Fichtner here because he's just like, I want to shake the hand of the bravest man.
Of the daughter
of the man, of the bravest man I've ever known. God damn.
Gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
Just nothing but respect to someone who, the way they establish them, you think they'll never understand each other, and they respect each other so much at the end of it. It's just so many ways that it all pays off really successfully.
With that said, let's go to round 2. Round 2, cast and crew.
Throughout the film, the way Téa Leoni plays that relationship between the mother and the father and clearly loves and respects them both, but has issues with both. I found that to be obviously just relatable. I think most of us can relate to the complicated nature of parents, especially when they're divorced. Good acting all around. Vanessa Redgrave, Téa Leoni, like everyone.
Yeah. Morgan Freeman was fucking awesome as a president.
You know, I think people love to associate Morgan Freeman as the president or God.
Yeah.
Like he loves to play those kind of characters. I actually worked on Oblivion, and he's like the leader of the underground revolution.
I read briefly that before they cast Morgan Freeman, a lot of the executives were like, you know, a black president isn't believable. And this is 1998.
Did they not see Blazing Saddles?
They're like, it's not, they were a little resistant to cast Morgan Freeman, but ultimately they ended up, you know, casting him because I think they did a survey of some sort and they found that people would buy Morgan Freeman as president.
He's very distinguished.
Because he's very distinguished. He has a good presence. So I thought that was pretty cool. We talked about Téa Leoni.
That is wild. That is wild, though.
Yeah.
The idea that we were still so much in that place seems pretty distant to me now. Like, obviously, there's still a shitload of inequality. The idea that you would balk about casting Morgan Freeman in anything is bonkers to me.
I don't know the actor who played the father, but
he's not your fave.
He's not my fave.
He's not your fave. You know, for me, it's just loving those big ensemble movies. And you have this amazing casting across the board. And both movies can brag about this because both movies have stacked ensembles, stacked cameos. I mean, you really can't go too wrong when you have that kind of depth. And, you know, even Billy Bob, who for me, I don't always love his movies, especially the ones he directs. And I've had a really just weird, personally terrible experience when I saw Bad Santa. It was my first Christmas I'd ever spent away from my family.
Oh.
And a friend, my boyfriend at the time, showed me Bad Santa to try and cheer me up, and it sent me into a spiral of sadness.
Oh, God.
So I didn't love Billy Bob, and it wasn't his fault, but I adore him in this movie.
He's great.
He's
fucking fantastic.
wonderful. And I like him best when he's in these snarky roles, but I like him in the smart, snarky roles, not the dumb ones.
Yeah. No, Billy Bob Thornton's always fucking great. Steve Buscemi was amazing.
Buscemi really stands out. The whole like roughneck crew, and Michael Clark Duncan is always a favorite for me. The way he plays sensitive characters and goes against type. And I'm still really sad he's not on this planet right now.
See, it's so funny seeing Owen Wilson in this movie.
Owen Wilson as the ultimate space cowboy. Love it. Love everything about it.
Like, I love his line. He's like, I'm like 98% like excited and like 2%, you know, 2% scared. He's like, or maybe it's 98% scared and 2%. He's like, I don't know, but that's what makes it exciting. I don't know, you know? Bruce Willis, there was something about him too. Like, maybe it was because he had like blonde hair or whatever, but I was like, this guy looks fucking handsome in this movie.
I love the way they bleached his hair in that. That was like a whole new level of sexy. Bruce Willis was always undeniably sexy. And even when he went super bald and just shaved his head, just sexy. I mean, Bruce Willis was like one of the biggest action stars of that era. But he was so busy with the Die Hard.
Yeah, I'd read that I think Bruce Willis wasn't too much big of a fan of his directing style. I don't think they got along too well. They never worked together again, Bruce Willis and Michael Bay. Although I thought they were a good combo.
Yeah, that seems like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, young Ben Affleck, he was good in it. Liv Tyler was good. Yeah, I mean, the whole cast did a fucking excellent job. Round 3, action.
For round 3 in this one, we've talked about a lot of the action throughout. So I think we'll do kind of a truncated round 3 here. I think one of the main things we want to focus on with round 3 is how they deal with timelines, big action sequences, specifics about how the movies are very similar or very different.
Armageddon clearly has just a lot more action. Deep Impact is more of a drama in my eyes. And I do kind of wish Deep Impact had more action, you know, just to give it a lot of variety. And I think it was clever with Armageddon using meteor showers. I thought that was very clever. You're allowed to show action with that. You're allowed to show damage and things like that. And Deep Impact did the same thing, but the way the action is done with Armageddon, it's just so much more captivating.
those sequences when you're on the oil rig and when you're getting to know everyone, I do very much enjoy. And I think some of the best dynamics you're getting in the characters are on the oil rig. But that feels like a whole nother movie. They don't even talk about launching until an hour and a half in. For me, it's a pacing timeline issue.
Okay.
That just takes me out of it. And at times when I don't want it to, Armageddon feels more like a standard action movie, what you'd expect for that big summer blockbuster with a lot of explosions and cool effects. Deep Impact feels like at times it wants to be that, but at the end of the day, it does feel like a much more grounded, like you said, an investigative movie, like an All the President's Men or like a political drama, more so than a summer action blockbuster.
And the winner is?
I think we should say it at the same time again. I think it's been a while since we did that.
Okay.
When did we do that last?
I'm not sure.
The Illusionist.
Maybe, yeah.
I think we knew which way that was going. Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Armageddon.
Deep Impact.
Wow, we disagree.
This is the first time. I kind of thought this might happen. I was like, at some point, we're going to have to
We're going to have a disagreement.
Digress. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you have a nostalgic personal feel to it, personal significance. Just looking at the movies objectively, I just feel like, look, they're both ridiculous. Okay, I've said this before.
Yes.
They're both ridiculous. They're both preposterous. It's absurd. But Armageddon gets my vote because it's fucking entertaining. It's like, it's silly, it's dumb, but it knows what it is. There's just so much more variety. There's more humor. It's lighthearted. It just, unlike Deep Impact, it doesn't take itself seriously. It's a movie that I just found thoroughly entertaining.
I respect that. And I really enjoyed Armageddon a lot. Honestly, neither of them have been movies I've been compelled to revisit recently, which is funny considering how much I remember liking both of them. Mm-hmm. If you're just looking at it like which is the better summer action blockbuster, maybe in that particular context, I would say I would give it to Armageddon. Mm-hmm. But for me, as like a overall better film, got me more was Deep Impact.
Interesting. Okay.
As much as I enjoy the action and the cast and the NASA of both films, Bruckheimer and Michael Bay, the absurdity takes me out of the film a lot more.
Okay.
Those craggy pieces everywhere and like extra explosions for no reason and honestly, for me, runtime. It was so long. Deep Impact carries my interest and my emotion throughout. And while I agree with you on the dad not being the greatest, I like the sciencey nerd part of Deep Impact. And I don't dislike the action. I love an action movie. It's just there's too much. It's so much.
Both movies are just inherently flawed. They're just deeply flawed. And it's interesting you have that background with NASA because I know it's inaccurate, but it doesn't take me out of it. To me, it's just mumbo jumbo.
Deep Impact is trying to be sciencey, and they do a pretty good job. Armageddon ain't trying to be sciencey, and I respect it for that. Mm-hmm. But the weird time jumping, like you said, give it 2 months, give it a month, like. That would have made a huge difference.
Yeah, Armageddon needed to be shorter. And, Armageddon is not a perfect movie.
But once you hit that third act, it's just like,
whoa. Yeah. So
bonkers.
But yeah, I mean, just for that, it just entertained me more. That's the reason it gets my vote. So yeah, looks like we're at odds.
Oh, this first time.
Yeah. What are we going to do about it?
Should we get out the boxing gloves?
I mean, I'll you up.
Wish.
All right. So this is our first difference.
Yeah, we'll kick it back to y'all. You guys
please vote. Yeah, please vote. Which film did you like better? With that said, appreciate you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Twin